Hey guys, welcome back to the Gear Channel. Thanks for tuning in. So, as always, lots of things to talk about in the car scene. Please let me know if you can see me okay, if you can hear me okay. I'm still very new to this whole live scene. Anyway, if you watched my latest video, uh, I went to visit a local YouTuber, Clay. My next project is his name of his channel, and it was really cool checking out his projects there. He actually has a goal. He's trying to get to the No Name Nationals, and that takes place in Sykeston, Missouri. Your only requirement to be a part of that is you need 500 subscribers, and it looks like he's gained a few since we did the video. I think he gained last I checked about 21 subscribers, which is great. Really cool. Thank you very much to everybody that watched the video and subbed his channel. You won't regret it. He's got a lot of cool stuff on there. So my next project, hit the button, help him out, give him some love. Now, if you don't know anything about the No Name Nationals and what that entails, it's an an AHRA sponsored or hosted event. It takes place in the States. It involves YouTubers. It's all, the local hardcore YouTuber guys with their own builds. This is not a high end sponsored, you know, hot rods. These are all home built deals, and they get together and they do a drag race, burnout competition, kind of a car show deal. It's really a cool thing, and it's held once a year. It was held last year, I believe, in the same location in Missouri. And I watch all those guys, sub all those guys. Lots of Mopars there. Clay's wanted to be a part of that for the last couple of years. He just needs, I think he's short about 50 subs now. So help him out. It'd be nice to see a local Canadian guy make it to the No Name Nationals this year. There was a couple other Canadian guys. I know one of them, Clay mentioned a fellow from Edmonton, Alberta. He had, I don't know if it was tow vehicle trouble, I can't remember now, or if it was uh, car trouble. But anyways, he didn't make it. And there was another fellow. There might have been one or two Canadians there, but really cool to see Clay, local hot rodder, local YouTuber, make it out there. Anyway, thank you very much if you've subbed this channel, and and if you haven't, if you've yet to see the video or check out, please do so. He does a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, a Mopar guy. In the video, you'll see in the background there was a Dodge truck. Uh, hey, bud, thanks for tuning in. Uh, yeah, there was a Dodge truck in the background, and that was a father son project. It's an '89 Dodge short box 4x4. It's lifted, really cool deal. They painted that truck on his channel, did a bunch of work, wiring. He put a 5.9 Magnum in there with his son. Cool build. And anyway, you can check out his channel, see that. That shows up in the background on the video if you're curious. But that car of his, it's a '74 Plymouth Duster. Hey, Clay, thanks for tuning in. I'm just talking about my visit yesterday to see you and check out your car and your builds. Just talking about your channel. Gained a few subs. That's awesome. We're just short a few more. We need 50 more, and you're locked in. You're gonna make it there. Uh, anyway, I wanted to talk about that today. Uh, we need a few more subs for Clay. Like I say, there's about 50. I think you're at 450 now, and that's awesome. Thank you very much to everybody that's hit the subscriber button. Hey, Rob, thanks for tuning in. Good to see Rob on here. What else were we going to talk about? So there's lots of builds. Hey, Ken, thanks for tuning in. Lots of builds that I've covered recently that are really coming along. Uh, a fellow I work with, Randy, he's building a '66 Chevelle uh, for his buddy Gord, And that thing is probably going to see some color next weekend. Randy, it's a long story. They had a guy kind of set up to do the paint work on that car. They've already picked the color. They got the paint. It's just a matter of getting it sprayed. It turns out the booth and the place they had to spray it is way out on the other side of Rosetown. And they kind of did the math, and by the time they, load the truck on or load the car on the back of a deck truck and tow it out to Rosetown to get this other fella to paint it, it was going to be like a $1,200 bill just in tow fees to get the car there and back. So possibly that car will get painted at the Dragons Clubhouse. That's kind of the talk now. Randy did paint the bumpers himself last night, I believe. He sent me some pictures of it. Turned out great. He's got a gun that's great for paint. Doesn't have one that's great for clear coat, so he had to buy another gun. Originally, he wasn't planning to paint the car. He's done most of the build and the body work and the metal work, and he got it to a point where it's just about ready for paint. But the plan was they were going to get somebody else to do it, and that just didn't pan out very well. So he might end up painting that car himself, local in town here, and they're hoping to be able to do it at the Dragons Clubhouse next weekend. So that's kind of the latest on that car. So it's very close. I believe they filled out application forms for the Dragons Car Show, and yeah, so that'll be a cool build that we'll see hopefully at the Dragons Car Show this spring. And another one is the 67 Beaumont build. Ken, you know what I'm talking about? That's Calvin and Rochelle's Beaumont. He's been sending me a lot of photos on that. He's really working hard at getting that car back together. He's got a lot of the trim on. What else did he do there? He's got the exhaust on it. Maybe Ken, you could share some information. You've probably seen the car recently. I've just been shared a lot of photos on it. Looks amazing. He's really plugging away on that thing. What else could we talk about? Oh, a buddy of mine, Trevor. Oh, Ken has no idea what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, Michael, thanks for tuning in. We got a few people on here. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, a good buddy of mine, Trevor, just got word. He just posted some information about his Mercury truck now. He said that might end up in a music video here very soon. He just pulled it out of a snowbank. Now that truck, Trevor is also known as Lady Luck Automotive, and he works on, he helps people with their projects, builds vehicles, not complete builds, but he helps folks out with, completing their projects. So he works on a lot of older stuff, 40s, 50s, 60s stuff. And anyway, I visited him it was last winter about this time. Yeah, it's coming along. You were over there last weekend, Ken. Yeah, so Ken's talking about the Beaumont build. Yeah, he's plugging away on that thing, and it's coming together. So that's another one that we hope to see in the Dragons Car Show this spring. Anyway, back to Trevor's deal. So I believe, now you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I think Trevor's truck is a 49 Merc front end. It's a real mixed mosh, a 49 Merc front end, I believe, and a 49 truck cab, a Ford truck cab, and I believe it's a Dodge box with a Chevy small block drivetrain. This is a really, really whizzy build. It's got big semi stacks on it. Anyway, he just pulled that thing out of a snowbank and got it running, and it's supposed to be in a music video here very shortly. I asked Trevor to please share the information on it. I don't know where that music video is going to be, but are you talking about Trevor's truck, Ken? Does good donuts? Yeah, I bet it does. Anyway, it's got big semi stacks on it. It's a cool build. It's just a nice looking rat rod type of truck. and a real mix of, yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. Anyway, hopefully we see hopefully Trevor shares with us some information on how to see this video. It'd be pretty cool. Another guy, Kyle Lambert, another local YouTube guy. Some of you guys may have met him or seen him recently. He just sold his 86 Jeep Jeep Cherokee on Barrett Jackson. That thing was on Barrett Jackson. So that was a vehicle that we saw at local events here. And as I mentioned, Kyle, it's Lambert Built is his YouTube handle. And he does some amazing edits. He was here for a while last summer. And then about midsummer, he took off to Vancouver area. And he was doing a bunch of video out there. And cool videos, super nice guy. I actually met him last summer. He came up and introduced himself to me at a hop night, and I saw his vehicle it was probably one of the nicest stock looking 86 Jeep Cherokee, white in color, red interior. And one of the nicest LS swaps I've ever seen. You look under the hood of that thing. It was a 5.3 in there, and it looked like it was, done from the factory. One of the neatest LS swaps I've ever seen. Anyway, that thing recently sold at Barrett Jackson across the block. I think it was last Sunday, and I can't remember the exact amount he got for that. It was like 28,000 American, something like that. But there was a long list of the LS swap was just one of many things that that he had done to that truck, that Jeep. A very, very cool deal. So congrats to Kyle. That was a cool deal. So now he's gonna have another project on the go. He hasn't shared with us, what he has in mind for, but the guy's pretty talented. Yeah, Rob, that truck's pretty cool of Trevor's. I'm assuming that's the one you're talking about. I did get a ride in it a few summers ago. He took me for a little buzz in it around the block. It's a cool truck. He's got semi stacks on that thing, and there's mufflers inside the semi stacks. So the semi stacks, they're like got to be an 8-inch tube up the side of the cab of this thing. And anyway, hopefully we see that thing in a music video here very shortly. It'd be cool. He didn't share which artist was doing the video. I didn't catch that information, but soon as I find out more about that, I'll certainly share it with you guys. What else can we cover here? Lots of new dates for the hop nights. They're coming up like crazy. So the Shifters Hop Nights were just posted recently by Rochelle at the Shifters Car Club. And there's 11 dates for next summer, right from May to September. So you can check out the postings that Rochelle has on there. Looking forward to that. So that's already in the works. There's a lot of stuff being posted. I saw some Regina car shows on there. Lots of stuff for next summer's coming up. It's pretty cool. Getting excited about next summer already. What else could we talk about here? So Clay. So Clay, if you're still watching, man, we just got a few more subs to go. Certainly, if you guys haven't seen that video, please watch it and check out my next project. Hit the subscribe button. We got to get Clay to the No Name Nationals. He's short 50 subs. Last I checked, anyway. And we got to get our local Canadian guy down to Sikeston, Missouri, to attend that. I think that, Clay, you'll have to clarify for me. That takes place late in the season. I think, what is it, September, something like that? At least last year, I think it was around that time. So you got this summer to kind of work on getting all your, you've got a 5.9 Magnum, a 360. I forget what year that came out of. Yeah, definitely in Sikeston, Missouri. A guy commented on the channel and he clarified that, and he subbed your channel for you. And I thanked him for that. That was awesome. Yeah, you couldn't remember. Yeah, well, I mean, it slipped my mind too exactly where that was, and I probably watched 50 videos on last year's deal. Last week in September. Okay, there you go. So you got this summer to get your engine done. I just watched your video on installing cam bearings. That's pretty cool. You bought yourself a tool and you're pounding cam bearings in there, and that's something that a lot of people, I've never done that myself either. A lot of people kind of shy away from that and leave that for the machine shop, but Clay's pretty thrifty guy and not afraid to try stuff out. Oh, he's starstruck by me. I'm nobody, man. Anyway, yeah, I had fun visiting you and getting a good look at your car. And that was the first time I have seen the car before, but that was the first time I saw the truck. The truck appears on the channel lots, and that's a nice truck your son has there. It was cool getting a look at that. And like I said, guys, if you haven't seen Clay's channel, check it out. He painted that truck on his channel, did a whole pile of work to it, engine swap. It's a carbureted 5.9 360, I believe, the same as what's going in the car. So the car currently has a 318 in it, and Clay threw that in. Like you said, he had several different engine combinations in there. Currently has a 318. Did get out to the local track here and made some passes with it. I guess he was in the 15-second zone. You'll have to clarify for that, Clay. But it'll be a lot quicker this time with the 360 in there, I'm sure. I need a gear change. Yeah, bring the truck. Absolutely. You and your son come out with both vehicles and we can show them off. And yeah, that was the first time I saw that truck. It's nice. Very, very nice. And it sure has a nice paint job on it for, a home garage job. Like, it looks cool. Very, very nice. And I think you mentioned you had a Chevy front diff in there and a Dodge rear diff, and it's got a lot of neat tech in it. 15.3 was the best time. And the 318 had traction problems. Yeah. So what does that car weigh? And that was with the 410 gear, I'm assuming, that you made those 15.3 passes. I never asked you what that car weighed. Another thing I never asked was, or forgot to ask, were you planning to drive the car to the No Name Nationals or trailer it? I don't even know how many miles that is to Missouri. That's got to be a long trip. 3,400 pounds. Wow, that's a little heavier than I thought, but probably a lot lighter than my car. Mine's probably about 3,900. So that's not terrible. That's a nice race weight. 3,400 pounds. Yeah, but that, like you say, you had traction problems, even with the drag radials. So the 318 is making some power too. If you can get it to hook up, it'll do better. Yeah, so Ken's dart was about 30. So Ken's had a few darts. Yeah, 3,400 pounds. So you're right on par. Yeah, you're having 25-hour drive to Missouri. That's a long trip. Yeah. If you either way, that's a long drive. Long drive for the hot rod, and then it's got to make many passes. Maybe you'll take part in that whole burnout deal. That No Name Nationals is a pretty cool thing. I've subbed a lot of channels that took part in that. Scott Speed Shop, he was there. Mopar L was there with Slaghammer. Of course, the Junkyard Jet guys were there. Who else was there? There was a ton of local YouTubers there. And I watched as much videos. I probably watched 50 videos on that. It's a cool deal. Yeah, Ken, you've also mentioned you wouldn't mind one of those bodies again. You had a 76 Dark Sport. Similar body style. Very, very cool. Yeah, I like this. I've always wanted to own them. That one car that has always eluded me is the Mopars. I've always wanted to own a Mopar, and I never did. You know, I've had Fords and lots of Chevys. Yeah, you might want to baby it to come home. That's for sure. That is a long, 50 hours of driving, and then a little bit of abuse at the drag strip, and that's if you don't take part in the burnout competition deal they got going there. Yeah, it might. Yeah, either way, it's going to be a fun deal. But I think I personally would trailer it down there if it were me. But whatever, as long as you get down there. Yeah, you had a few Dusters and Darts and Demons, and only one Duster, 340 car. Yeah, Ken's had a number of those. Ken's had a number of Mopars. And he's well versed on them too. Oh, there was another video I wanted to touch on that I did recently here. A week ago, Friday, I uploaded a video of a friend's 50 Oldsmobile. Oh, when you guys picked up the car. Yeah, holy smokes, 5,700 kilometers, 64 hours. 64 hours driving that was from Texas. You picked up that car in Texas. Yeah, that's a long trip. That is a marathon. Oh, Ken, you haven't forgotten nothing. You don't forget stuff. Photograph. When it comes to cars and cans, you're on top of it. We got to visit Ken again, get another look at his can collection. He's added lots to that. Just out of Dallas, Texas. Wow. That body on that car is in remarkable condition. It's super straight, beautiful color on it. Like you say, rust free from a dry climate. That was a nice. Like, you bought the body shell, painted as it was, out of the Texas area. That's a nice find for any car. Not like I used to. Oh, yeah. I was talking about Cander's 50 Olds. This is a topic I wanted to touch on. It was brought to my attention. I got some of my information skewed. So I mentioned in that video that 50 Olds in my it was a week ago, my long form video a week ago, of the red 50 Olds. I did a video on. I mentioned that Bert and John McClay built that car. Typically, those guys do collaborate on builds. Lyle, hi. Oh, great! Thank you for subscribing to Clay. Thank you very much, Lyle. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate every subscriber counts. He's just short a few now, and he's in. You got to have 500 subs to make that No Name Nationals. It's the only requirement. So every sub counts at this point. Thank you very much. Yeah, I sure hope he does too. He's very close. I think he just might make it. Crossing our fingers. What was I talking about? Canada's 50 old. So yeah, I said in the video that Bert and John McClay built that car, and it was brought to my attention that I was not correct on that. As I mentioned, Bert and John typically collaborate on a lot of builds, but from what I understand, what I was told that John didn't have a hand in that. However, I was told later that there's photographic evidence from the previous owner that John might have had a little bit of a hand in that, albeit maybe small. So technically, from what I was told, Bert McClay is the one that, for the most part, built that 50 Oldsmobile. I try and get all my, all the time, every video Bert McClay and John Tritko. Yeah, I mentioned that they both built that car. I wanted to give credit to the builders. I thought they did an awesome job. I was told that John didn't have a hand in that, and I'm finding out that he might have. So anyway, when it comes to information and details, and I make mistakes on my videos all the time, I certainly am open to comments and corrections. I make the stupidest mistakes. I try and get my info. I really try to cross my T's and dot my I's, but I always make every single video. I always either forget to add information or I get some kind of part of the details wrong or skewed. But I'm open to all comments and corrections. I want you guys to know that. Feel free to please comment and correct. I made a stupid mistake last Friday at work. I uploaded a little shorts video from work, and it was right in the morning when I was kind of running around and moving cars out. I'm the first guy at work in the morning, and it's kind of my duty to, turn everything on and get the vehicles out. And then when guys show up to work, they just open their toolbox and they've got a free bay to work on, and they can get on it. And anyway, I was in between all that, and I had some cars with dead batteries and flat tires, and I'm moving out like 14 of them and uploading this video at the same time. And it was just a little shorts video on a BMW transfer case eating drive shaft splines. Anyway, this thing ended up with several neutral gears. It had no transmission, or it wouldn't move under its own power. And I uploaded the video real quick in between all what I was doing, and I spelt neutral wrong. And there was a guy that commented, a few minutes later, and I kind of laughed about it. And I made the correction. I thanked him for it. But yeah, I make stupid mistakes like that all the time. Spelling errors. Last year, I attended an event that all summer long, it was called Friday Nights Classics. And the whole summer, my titles were Friday Night Classics. Finally, by the end of the season, somebody had told me that I was doing this incorrectly. I make stupid errors all the time, but what I'm getting at is feel free to please correct me. I mean, at the end of the day, we all watch the national news, and those guys with their producers and their writers and their people that they pay to get all their information correct and detailed, and then they put their own twist on it, of course. And what percentage of error do they have? Is it a 50%, 60%? At the end of the day, I don't worry about it. I make mistakes. Certainly, they have a way broader audience than I ever will, and they make mistakes daily, all the time. So, yeah, Rob, we all do it. Anyway, please feel free to correct me. I don't get all my stuff. This is even just like this live, nothing scripted. And even when I do try to write details down about something, I miss it, I forget it, or I get some detail wrong. So in the case of this 50 olds build, yeah, maybe I got something wrong in there about who built what. But I was trying to, it's important that I feel it's important for me to try and get stuff right. And I do try, but I make mistakes. So please correct me and don't feel it's going to embarrass. I just laugh about it. I am not embarrassed at all. So yeah, lots of cars coming together for the car show. Like I mentioned, that 66 Chevelle build. I did a little shorts video of that too, just with that thing running. I think sounds pretty cool. It's got a homemade exhaust system on it. It's all basically stainless, handmade stuff, and there's a crossover in it, like an H pipe. I forget Flow Pro mufflers maybe, and a 5.3 LS with a big alien style intake on there. That thing sounds wild. Got a lot of views on that thing just idling. I think there was over 2,000 views on that. That is a cool build. Oh yeah, Rob, you entered your car in the car show too. Good. That is a nice build too. I enjoyed visiting you. What was that? Was that last winter? We looked at your car, and that's a super nice high-end custom out of California. And that one also crossed the block at Barrett-Jackson at some point in its life. It's got an interesting history, your car. Based on where it came from, where it was built. Built in California, crossed the block at Barrett-Jackson, and now it's in your hands. You got a pretty whizzy, high-end custom Pro Street wagon there. And speaking of wagons, Ken, how are you making out? You've been working on the wagon lately? Ken's got a old school drag wagon build, and I don't know if he's had time to do much to it. We got to get over there and see that thing. That thing's going to be ready for paint soon too. If I remember correctly, that's Bolero Red, 67 Bolero Red. And that one appears on the channel too, but that was a while ago. We're going to have to do an update on that. You let us know, Ken. Keep us posted. We're going to either look at your car or your can collection, one of the two. That's got to happen soon. So what else can you tell us about the No Name Nationals there, Clay? Is there anything we missed that in yesterday's video that we could tell people and keep them informed as to what, that takes place in September in Sikeston, Missouri. Too many things going on with Ken. Yeah, I know you got lots of you're a busy guy right now. And you just finished all that work on the Beaumont, and you got other things going on in your life. It's a busy guy. Yeah, that whole No Name Nationals, that looks like a lot of fun. The videos that I watched, it just looks like a great time. How long does it go? Is it a week-long deal? I can't remember. I watched some of the burnouts they did. I forget. I think was it a Charger that won the burnout competition? That guy did one hell of a burnout. Yeah, Ken, we got to get together soon. We got to get together and catch up. Oh, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a 3-day deal. Okay. Friday, Saturday, Sunday in September, Sikeston, Missouri. You got to promise to, if you get down there, you got to promise to have lots of content for us. Got to bring your camera and share as much as you can. That would be very cool. Yeah, there was lots of video from that. There's a lot of Mopar guys that attend that deal. Lots and lots. Now this is open to all makes and models. It's not brand specific at all. It's just you have to have a YouTube channel with at least 500 subs or more, and that opens you for being a part of it. And it's a drag race deal, hosted or sponsored by the AHRA. And there's fast cars, slow cars. There's a funny car. Yeah. Yeah, the trip and everything. If you can cover as much as you possibly can, that would be awesome. That would be good to see. Because the trip down, like as many hours as it takes, it's the trip down there. What was it, 25 hours? You said one way. There'd be lots to share. There's all kinds of things that could happen in a 25-hour drive. Oh, a van grudge race last year too. Wow. So yeah, these guys they show up with everything you can imagine. Most of it is home built stuff on their YouTube channel, and they show up at this event. Clay's just talking about vans, dudes with vans racing. And yeah, your brother might be coming with you. That'd be good. Might need a extra hand for sure. That's a long trip. All around good deal. It's funny how some of these events, it's great that YouTube, there's one for YouTubers specifically. Second driver too. Yeah, exactly. I really like the fact that some of these drag and drive deals are, done by YouTubers. All these drag and drive deals and all these different events we get coverage on free of charge via YouTube, and you get all ends of it. It's not like watching a scripted TV program. You're getting the real deal, the breakdowns, the hardship, the tough part, the fun part, all the fun part. You're getting that free of charge via YouTube. I like watching that stuff. It's just real life car guy stuff. I remember getting hooked on roadkill real fast. I think we all did. Miles of Mayhem. Yeah, that would be a cool one to be a part of too. And again, that's another one I was going to mention. So there's several YouTubers that take part in that, the Miles of Mayhem, that I follow as well. And some of them I met last summer that I didn't even know they were part of the deal. And that's fun to watch, those drag and drive deals as well. This is, but this No Name Nationals is strictly a YouTuber's event, which is super cool. You're gonna get all kinds of all ends of this thing is going to be, captured. There's going to be content from every corner of it. Yeah, there's several guys. Boosted Lifestyle. I met him at the Miles of Mayhem, not last year, but the year before. I met him and his crew, and they're out of the Fort Mac area, Alberta. And his car didn't make it that year that I met him, but his buddy, what's his name, and his wife were there with their cars. Tokyo with his boosted Malibu. I met those guys, super nice guys, and they covered that event. And then last year he had his Mustang, and of course I didn't get to see that. The first year they held that, my holidays, I have scheduled holidays through work, and it's the first part of July, the first 2 weeks in July I get off. And they were in Saskatoon at SIR, that first event of the Miles of Mayhem, and I was able to meet some of those guys. I met Dan from D&D Speed Shop. He was part of that deal that first year and last year as well. Shade Tree Mechanical, Zip Ties and Buys Plies. I saw the truck they were running that first year, but I didn't get to meet him. Peg from Zip Ties and Buys Plies. Would have liked to meet him. Of course, don't know what he looks like. But yeah, I met some of those guys when that event first took place. They got all this stuff going on in the States constantly. And that's Dan from D&D Speed Shop. He does the Miles of Mayhem with Shade Tree Mechanical. Shade Tree Mechanical, that's a fella just outside of Saskatoon here. And that was his 55 that Dan and him were running together. Yeah, Josh from the Asquith area. Yeah, that was cool to meet him. Josh put a Wizzy Ford engine in there, and he got a lot of flack for that, apparently. He told me that a lot of the Chevy guys didn't like that so much, but that thing makes big power. I'm forgetting a lot of the details. He handmade his headers, did a beautiful job, built that car from scratch in his garage. The front end, it's a straight axle gasser with, this big monster Ford engine. It's like a race block. I forget a lot of the details to that. Makes big horsepower, like 800 horse. I think it's mated to a 4 or 6-speed Tremec. I can't remember all the details. But that was a cool build, and they had a lot of fun with that thing. The first season they were out with that car, again, a straight axle gasser that had a small block Chevy in it with a 4-speed, and they were hitting like $6,000 on the highway, 7,000 RPM for hours. And the thing was, they were constantly braking. Coyote, yeah, you're right, Ken. A Coyote engine. I can't remember the details, but anyway, you squeezed it in there, and the thing goes like hell, and they're having a lot of fun with it. It was far more reliable with that Ford engine in there, Coyote or whatever it is, or maybe it's a Coyote base. I can't remember, but that thing is fast and fun and loud, and they had some extra gears. I think it was a 5 or 6-speed they put in there, and a lot more. It works far better on the highway. Yeah, cool deal. I met another fella that met him in Martinsville, another Mopar fella that was, he's got a bunch of Challengers, and one of his Challengers he kind of put together for the Miles of Mayhem deal. And I didn't even know he was in that event. He's not a YouTuber, but I ran into him by accident at one of the car events in the one car event in Martinsville. And I did a little kind of walk around interview with him. And he talked about being a part of that. And I saw that car. He brought it out to Cars and Coffee, I believe, a couple times. A green, kind of ratty looking Challenger, loud and obnoxious. And it had a trailer hitch on it. And yeah, as soon as I saw that, I knew that was the one that he took on that event. It would be fun to be a part of that. It's and you can take anything you want. It could be a brand new vehicle, brand new Challenger, or some ratty thrown together thing. And kind of a real test of man and machine, those events. Spend a couple hours on the highway. So you got to kind of have a decent gear ratio, and then take it to the track and maybe swap out for some drag radials or slicks and make some passes. And the fastest time, the average for each track, you keep the best, and whatever your average is at the end, you enter all these different classes, 750 class or whatever. But yeah, then they hook up a trailer or whatever to haul all their tools and parts and tires and rims and on to the next one. And sometimes they don't get any sleep. They might be broke down on the side of the highway at night fixing the thing. That's all part of it. If you watch the Rocky Mountain, Race Week and all those drag and drive events they have in the States, some of those guys with those 4-second cars, 4 and 5 second, pro mod style race cars that are pulling trailers in the rain. And, stuff breaks. Some of that stuff isn't made for the street. Yeah, the trip, often the best part. That is a challenge. And some of those cars are so loud, they're wearing headgear or headsets just to have a conversation with each other, because you're buzzing down the highway at whatever RPM with a 4-second or 5-second, pro mod. Pretty hard to, and do these things come with windshield wipers? Probably a lot of them don't. All those basic, roll up windows. Some of the creature comforts, air conditioning. It's pretty hot in some of those places. And of course, those events are, right in the middle of summer. It was pretty hot here last summer. And I think even in Saskatchewan here, those guys were battling the heat. It was pretty hot here. So there's all those factors, and it just makes it a real challenge. I enjoyed watching them anyway. I talked about entering my car in that. Well, first of all, I don't know if I could get the holiday time, and then you may not be sleeping for over that 1 week or whatever. I think it's a 1 week deal. You may not be sleeping. You might be wrenching. Yeah, trailer burnouts. Yeah. Yeah, they're doing big ass burnouts with trailers hooked to the back. It's amazing. The technology has come so far, and not all of these are high tech cars, but technology has come so far where you could run a 3,000 horsepower car on the highway for an extended period of time, pulling a trailer in a rainstorm or, excessive heat for an extended period of time. It's just amazing. Uh, some of the old race cars, certainly you no cooling systems, no charging systems. It was a challenge just coming back the return road. Now these things are running for hours on the highway. They did a little bit of a drag. The first time they did that here in Saskatoon was several years ago. It was kind of a fastest streetcar deal. And they just drove their cars from the track on the highway, meandered around the city a little bit, and then straight back to the track. A little bit shorter deal, and nothing like the Miles of Mayhem where they go several hours, a couple 100 kilometers, 200-300 kilometers from track to track. I don't remember where I think they changed the locations every year. It was Rimbey and Saskatoon, and I forget what the other ones were. And I think that might have changed a little bit. They may have some different tracks in there now, and they change it up a little bit every year. I don't know. Cool thing to be a part of. Really got to know your car. Of course, these guys, they're not writing a check and buying a car and know nothing about it. These guys have built their car, purpose-built their car by hand, by themselves, and they got to know it inside and out. Flying high aerial. Yeah, so you're restoring a 69 Beaumont with a factory antenna, which was missing. Chance of getting the bottom on without removing the antenna. Find our story instead of antenna. You know what? I kind of deleted mine. If you're looking for the location, I can measure. I think I gave you the measurements of that. Have to remove the fender. Something tells me now, it depends on the antenna. Something tells me you should be able to remove that. I believe there's a butterfly deal in there. If you loosen it, it should. But I don't know what kind of antenna you have on there. Now I've deleted mine. My car does not have an antenna on the front fender or the back. I deleted it because I have one in the windshield. So mine's a windshield antenna embedded in the glass. Just can't get the anchor on. And you want the stock setup. Geez, I can't remember. So the one that I had on there when I got the car, there was one on there. It was not a stock piece. It was an aftermarket piece. It looked stupid. And knowing that I had two in the car, I thought, well, I'm just going to delete that one. And I put a little plug in the fender where the hole was. I cannot remember. Something tells me they have and I could be wrong. I thought they had a little flipped doohickey. Ken, you could maybe help us out with this. The front antenna or the mounting hardware on the front antenna on a 69 Chevelle, I think is what he has. 69 Beaumont, sorry. And yours was missing. You have the wire, just no anchor. Yeah, how do you get it on without removing the fender? So, yeah, so if that hardware doesn't have the little flippy rocker guy at the bottom, it just goes in and flips like that, like a drywall anchor, and then you tighten it up. I believe they were all like that. And I think the one that I had on my car, which, like I say, not a factory piece, I believe had an anchoring system like that. Now, you can get your hand in there, but man, it's hard. If you simply have to slide the antenna through and run a wing or run a nut up from the bottom, it is tough to do. Uh, you can get your hand in there barely with a wrench without taking the fender off. But I always thought they had like a flip anchor, like a drywall anchor that up like that. I could be wrong. And then they're very simple, and then you just screw them in from the outside on top, and it sucks it up. Uh, Ken, if you're watching, please help us out with that. Through the door opening, it seems to me, I can't remember that. Yeah, mine has what you're talking about. Yeah, so Ken's talking about worst case scenario, undo the wheel well or the wheel tub in the front and get it kind of so you can get your hand in there. That is the worst. You shouldn't have to remove, or you had the inner fender out and still couldn't get it. Wow. It seems to me so that little plug that I have, just to give you an example, that little plug that I have on my fender to take place of the antenna, I had to get my finger in there or a wrench, and I can't remember if the wrench, maybe I couldn't get my hand on it, but the wrench I could, and I was able to tighten it. It's tough. It's really hard to get in there, but I could get in there with and the heater core box is kind of in the way. It's a tough spot. Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because I put that plug in with and that's just basically I made that thing. Uh, it's a washer welded to like a carriage bolt and just on a piece of rubber or a grommet, and then there's a nut in from the bottom. And it was tough to do. It was super hard to do, but I could get a nut on there, and I can't remember if I held it with a wrench or turned it with a wrench. It's a tough spot. It's a horrible spot to get to, but it can be done. But yeah, the anchor that's, if I remember correctly, that's the type of anchorage system, and Ken's kind of clarifying that that's what you should have, and it's all done from the top on the outside, as far as sucking it down. Well, he has a '69 Beaumont, which would be exactly the same fender I have. 68, 69, same fender. So it is not easy. Yeah, it's not easy to get in there, but I was able to do it, and I didn't take off the inner fender or the heater box to do it. I just struggled, and I think I just found the right tool to reach in there on the nut, ratchet wrench, a gear wrench, and it took a long time to get it tight. Yeah, kind of a interesting. Let us know how you make out with that. Uh, like I say, the one I took off was not a factory piece, so I don't know exactly what the factory guy looks like. It was an aftermarket kind of, and it looked hokey. It was like a bought from Canadian Tire in the 70s. Somebody just stuck it on there to plug the hole. My car was kind of haphazardly slapped together by a fella in Rosetown, Saskatchewan, and he just kind of fluffs them up and gives them a quickie paint job and kicks them out the door, and that's what I ended up with. There was a lot of little things like that I had to deal with that I didn't like on the car. That was kind of, like I say, kind of thrown together. Power steering brackets. Ken's going to look at his antenna and see what it looks like, and we can share more info. His is a 67 wagon, 67 Chevy wagon, and he's going to look at his. So it's probably the antenna part of it should be very similar. 68, 7, 9 should be all very much the same hardware. What are you talking about? The power steering brackets that don't use the block or stock manifold. I'm not sure. Power steering bracketry. So are you talking about the pump? Yeah, so they're a little different. So if you've taken your manifolds off and yeah. Oh, original 30,000 mile car. That's cool. Second owner. Barn find from 77 to 2020. That is a very cool find. I really like the Beaumonts. That is a nice find. And you've got a low mile original barn find car. Very, very cool. Yeah, so I know of course the manifolds are thicker than the headers. And when you put that bracketry on, I can't remember what a lot of guys do if they just make a little bushing in there to make up the space, or they stock washers. I can't remember now. Is yours a small block or a big block? A little bit different that way too. So I had to I converted, mine was a 383 stroker that I converted to a big block, and I actually had to buy big block power steering bracketry because it's totally different from a small block to a big block. That's one thing that's hugely different. 4-speed buck is L48 factory, so it's a small block L48 350. 4-speed L48. Yeah, L48 350. Yeah, L48s, they're a good engine. I had one in a 70 Monte Carlo, 300 horse, 4-bolt main, camel hump heads. That was a 70. Yours is 69. Probably very similar. That was a stock 300 horse engine. Very, very strong, durable. That was probably the best, toughest. I had that in a car that L48 350, 1970 L48 350 in a 70 Monte Carlo, and I raced that thing at SIR for 8 years. That motor was apart once and rebuilt at probably, I was rebuilt about 80, 90,000 miles. And then when I moved to Saskatoon here in 89, I raced the hell out of that thing and never, ever, ever missed a beat. The engine or the transmission actually was turbo 350. Also rebuilt. It had a shift kit and a stall and a converter. But the one thing that, I had a 12-bolt differential, and I kept breaking axles on the car, but never, ever did that motor or transmission give me, I don't know how many passes I made out there. And yeah, the weakest link in that whole car, that whole combination, were the 12-bolt axles. I kept breaking them. Yeah, 12-bolt 353. That's a perfect gear. Oshawa, built in Oshawa. Yeah, M20 12-bolt. Yeah, that's a nice combination. That's a stout combination. And if that's the way the car came, then yeah, stick with that. That's a low mile original barn find car. Very, very, very cool. That is a highly sought after 353 gear. That's a perfect gear. I had a 410 in my Monte Carlo when I was breaking axles, and I think now I blame the axles, but I think the biggest problem there was the factory 4-link. I could have done something different with that. I didn't change any of that suspension geometry. Yeah, yeah, that is a very, very special car. Absolutely. And it's original format. Yeah, that's a very cool deal. I love those cars. Beaumonts are special. I love the Chevelles. I love all cars, but uh, I've always been a big fan of the Chevelles, and the Beaumonts are a trim level higher. They're just some of the stuff they put on there just made it so unique and different and special, and nice trim pieces on those cars. I just really like them. You know, that all the Beaumonts were, regardless of year, they were a special car, Canadian made stuff. Uh, Not a Pontiac, but that was an interesting conversation that we had, that I shared on the channel. A lot of misconception that it was Pontiac made, and it's easy to see why. The badging and some of the, there's that Pontiac-esque look to it, but not a Pontiac, separate entity, separate brand, very unique. And how that all came about, very interesting story behind the whole Beaumont deal. Uh, oh, that's good. That would be cool. You got to share. You got to share it with us. You got to. I don't know where you're located, but yeah, you have 456s, Rob. Wow. Well, that's a deep gear. That is a deep one. I've never run anything deeper than 410s. Uh, that's a deep one. That'll plant some power. Yeah, they were their own brand. Uh, Pontiac, Acadian, Beaumont, all three separate brands. And there was a lot of that. You look at the gills on Pontiac, the Le Mans, for example, or Firebird. They have gills embedded or punched into the quarter panel. And the Beaumonts did a similar thing, but it was a bolt-on piece to kind of emulate that same design. And then even in the Arrowhead Pontiac emblem, well, very much resembles the Beaumont emblem in so many ways. It was so easy. Oh, you're in Kingston. Please send us some photos. If you can, share some photos of that somehow. I'd love to see pictures of your car. I guess we're not going to be able to see at a auto event unless you come here or we go there. Love to see it. Yeah, that I'm sure that 456 helps you plant you in your seat, eh? Yeah, I had a friend that built a Camaro, 71 Camaro. It was a wicked small block car that he put 513 gears in there, and I'd never heard an engine scream so fast, so quick with those 513 gears. And of course, it would leave rubber in all three gears. It was a Turbo 3. I don't know how that combination lived screaming it like he did. Would beat the hell out of that car. Uh, yeah, that was a car we kind of built together. and he wanted a deeper gear. I think it had like a 273 in it or something, some kind of highway gear in it when he got the car, and he threw all this stuff on it, a ton of RAM, and uh, yeah, and this crazy gear, and wow. Oh, you're sending your engine to Nick. That's cool. Very, very cool. 400 small block Chevy, 550 horse. That's cool. Yeah, I watch Nick's channel. I like Nick. Nick is, yeah, he does his Friday Night Lives. I watch all those. And he's, there's a lot of muscle car rolls through that shop of his. And it's always interesting. Some of those are full build, some of those are just motor jobs, and dyno stuff. There's all kinds of interesting stuff happening at Nick's garage. Yeah, you need. Yeah. Well, my dog's losing his mind behind us here. Hey, doctor. Sorry about that. Uh, yeah, I wish you were closer too. I'd love to see your vehicle and align it for you. There's a few miles between us, unfortunately. But send some pics, yes. My email, it's ggrischuk@gmail.com. It's actually, you can get it on the channel. But yeah, please send us photos. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, absolutely. He watch them guys. Bill, he highly recommend it. Absolutely. Yeah, they work on a lot of muscle there, and it's always interesting. I sure a lot of like Nick's a Mopar guy. Clay, I don't know if you watch his channel. Uh, he obviously he's got that 70 Challenger. The what do they call it? It's the Vanishing Point Challenger. I forget what his plate says there. But he loves his Mopars, but he works on everything, and they get him right. And really neat channel, neat shop. Very, very, very cool. Yeah, I'd love to align your car. I do get a lot of neat hot rods. As soon as spring hits, we get a ton of hot rods come through the shop, and they all end up on my hoist. And I love working on the older stuff is like a change as much as a rest for me. I get the new stuff gets boring after a while, and it's nice to see an older Kowalski. Yes, that's the plate. You're right. I was trying to think of the name of the driver in that movie, but yeah, Kowalski. Yeah, that's a very, very cool car. Uh, Sorry, yeah, I get a lot of really, really neat hot rods come through the shop. A lot of fresh builds. I see all the fresh builds. Uh, of course, guys spend all winter working on their cars, and they rebuild the suspensions and the front ends and get them dialed in. I love the old stuff. Lot of lot of fun. I'm gonna have to share more of that on the channel. As you know, I haven't done that. There's been some really very rare, unique builds come through our shop that I haven't even shared pictures of. My phone completely filled up in the first 5 years I was there. I was almost out of data, and it was the most beautiful cars you can ever imagine. And I had the pleasure of just tweaking the alignment for them. That was my only hands-on. But it's important to get those things to part of your experience, your driving experience. If that thing isn't dialed in and driving properly, it just makes it a challenge to drive, and you don't want that. You want to be able to drive your car and enjoy it. And I spend a lot of extra time. There's not a lot of guys that uh, are really, the younger techs today, they don't get a lot of alignment training. And I know this because we get cars all the time from dealerships that they can't get the alignment on. And it's a simple fix for me. It's just knowing what to do. I guess working at a specialty shop, a frame shop, where they send stuff to us all the time. And I can't believe that the alignment guy can't figure it out. Or, if it was crashed, he doesn't know what bent. So I see a lot of that stuff. And when it comes to the older stuff, it's no different. They're just not really trained. There's not a lot of training when it comes to alignments, I guess. And I've taken all the courses they can throw at me, and I enjoy it. It's one of the more fun parts of my job when older stuff comes to us. Oh, the backstory. Yeah, please share that. Share all any information. Like your car's an interesting car already, just without an interesting backstory. Very, very cool. Very, very cool to hear that. Yeah, my car, I should probably do a little bit more investigation on. I mean, it was just originally that thing was uh, a 307 two-speed Power Glide, but it was a Buckets Council car. That's how it was born. But it was green in color, green interior, green exterior. Nothing really special. So I haven't really spent any time looking into the history on that car. It was found in a Quonset. Like I said, the fellow that threw that thing together, he kind of zips around and finds cars in rural areas. Some of it's northern Saskatchewan, and he finds some neat cars, and he paints in his garage. He's a mechanic by trade, but he can paint, and he just kind of throws these things together and paints them and sells them. He had a dream car. I think it was a 66 or 67 Chevelle. He finally found one, a big block 4-speed car. He always wanted one. Finally got one, restored it, and sold it. So he doesn't keep anything, but he enjoys building them. And oh, thank you, thanks. It's nothing. My car's nothing special. It's a clone. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. It's just it's a clone, and it's kind of a hobbled together. It's getting better. It came a long way. I didn't really when I bought that car. The wife drove it with the 3D3 stroker, and funny story. I was told it was a fresh built 3D3 stroker, turbo 350 transmission, 331 gear, which was a one legger, by the way. Didn't realize that till after. Anyway, I decided I'm going to, when I sold my Firebird, okay, I'm going to throw some money at this Chevelle now. I didn't do much with it when I first bought it. The wife drove it to events, and I had a 67 Firebird that I did a full build on. So we drove them together at different events, and I didn't really do a lot with that car. When it ran and drove and was pretty reliable, I actually took it to a lot of out-of-town events and left the Firebird at home. But when I sold the Firebird, I thought, okay, I'm going to do what I want with the Chevelle. I'm going to actually take it all the way, do the proper clone deal on it, put a big block in it, and a Turbo 400. And that first season, I threw the engine in, and that was, even back then, that was a $10,000 investment. And I couldn't afford to do both motor and trans the same season. So I threw in that motor, hoping the Turbo 350 would be just fine. Well, when I removed all that, I realized it was not a turbo 350. It was actually, in fact, a turbo 250, which wasn't going to live behind that 500 foot-pounds of torque big block. So I limped it through that first season. They're very, now the guy, maybe he didn't know, they are very hard to distinguish one from the other. The turbo 350s and 250s share the same case. There's one thing that, and I forget what it is, if it's a governor or what it is that's different on the outside. But I quickly realized when I had it out of the car that this is not what it was supposed to be. And yeah, if you do the math, that thing's not going to take half the torque I throw at it. So I limped it through that very first summer and commissioned a guy to build me a turbo 400 here in town. Kelly Solheim built that transmission for me. And I made it through the summer without breaking it. I didn't, of course, I drove it very easily. And now it has, now I can, get on it and not, be a little more confident and not worry about just completely scattering this transmission. They say, a turbo 400 is good for 400 foot-pounds of torque, and the turbo 350 is good for 350 foot-pounds of torque, and turbo 250 is made for 250 foot-pounds. So yeah, now they'll all take more than that, but that is what they're rated for. That is how they get those names. And of course, that turbo 250 behind a big block making 500 foot-pounds at like 2,800 RPM comes in pretty quick. Well, it doesn't take long to destroy that thing. Wow. Anyway, guys, I've been on for over an hour. I've just been rambling here. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I enjoyed chatting with you guys. Hadn't done this for about 4 weeks. And I wanted to touch on some of the recent videos and some of the latest builds. And we kind of covered that. Thanks for everybody for your comments. And I appreciate it all. Once again, if you haven't seen the latest video at Clay's My Next Project, it's his YouTube channel. Please sub his channel and give him a crack at hitting this No Name Nationals. That would be really cool to see a Canadian guy do that. Randy, thank you, Randy. Yeah, please send me an email. I'd like to see some pictures of your car. So my email address is ggrishchuk@gmail.com. But you can find it in the description of the channel there too. Thank you very much for tuning in and sharing info on your Beaumont build. That's very, very cool. I'd like to see more of that. Anyway, guys, thank you for subbing my channel. Thank you for subbing My Next Project. Appreciate it very much. You guys are awesome, and maybe we'll do more consistent live streams in the end. Keep me posted if this works for you. If you want to see more of these, certainly I can do them on a more regular basis. I think it's been 4 weeks or something. Anyway, take care. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys again.